Jeff, thank you for inviting us to 2024 Scaling Up. And we're just really excited to be here. Appreciate that Foresight had the opportunity to sponsor a panel on innovation and scale up. This is a subject that is near and dear to the mandate of our organization. We are a clean tech accelerator based in Vancouver, but with a growing reach right across Canada. We have a number of mentoring and acceleration programs that are available to early stage entrepreneurs, as well as connectivity to capital. And we also run small programs, larger several month programs. And recently, we've been involved with the BC Net Zero Innovation Network, which attempts to work with the industry more closely to put together some of the innovators and the industry players on the journey to adoption. And we are very, very privileged to be working with the BC Pulp and Paper Coalition and a number of other players, including bringing government into the room. My colleague here, Jacob Atherton, is manager of the bioeconomy initiatives. If you want to learn more, please grab him either at the end of this session, or I know he'll be at the whiskey tasting. So, today, you will be hearing from two passionate and dedicated innovators and entrepreneurs, both of them founders. And I do want to say we're very sorry, but Evelyn woke up in the middle of the night and is quite ill today. So unfortunately, she can't join us. I'm hoping we'll get her back another year. So we do have these two who I think will ably be able to share their journeys over the last number of years. So over on my right is from Nova Scotia, Mark Massotti, CEO and founder of AlterBiota, and a long-term friend, Phil Marsh, CTO and founder of BC Biocarbon. So we're shifting our conversation a little bit away from fuels now and going to be focusing on an area that has been around for a long time, but I would say recently has become of a great deal of interest to many industries, and that's the biochar sector. So, format, they're each going to give a brief intro. They've got a couple of slides just to set the stage, and then we're going to have some discussion. And please put up your cards with some audience Q&A. All right, with that, first I think is Phil.
Test, test. Okay, so thanks very much, Sandy, and thanks to the group for having me out this year. It's fantastic. Just very quickly, I'll run through what BC Biocarbon does. So we're a company that started in 2011. You can just flick to the next slide there. Is there a clicker? There we go. So BC Biocarbon started in 2011 developing a proprietary technology to do carbonization. So we're a biorefinery process. We have a single pass process, make solids, liquids, and gases. And we spent basically 10 years in development, well, more than that, working on the R&D and basically getting value chain collaboration involved. Oh, great. So we operate one R&D facility and demonstration plant in McBride, BC, actually, and then another commercial plant in Carrot River, Saskatchewan. We have a large-scale offtake agreement with a horticulture company, and from there, we're in the process of doubling the throughput in Carrot River. 2 new carbonizers have just arrived out there. I guess the scaling up part of this is we spent a long time developing the technology. So and I guess the lesson learned is it's a stick-to-itiveness program. You just got to stay at it year after year, and that's kind of, we start at bench scale. We built twice at kind of container size, one batch, one continuous. Then we built the McBride plant in 2018. That's a continuous flow at about 500 to 700 kilograms an hour, so it was kind of a 10 times scale up. Then we built in Carrot River starting in 23-24. That was a 2-time scale up from there. It runs currently around 1 ton an hour, and the new units will be 1 to 1.5 ton an hour per unit. And we're further scaling up underway now to try and get to 2,000 to 3,000 kilograms per hour per unit. And let's see, there we go. So what do? Basically, we take any kind of waste material, but we're focused on wood because of our customer. Our customer has certified, and this was, again, about a 4-year process to get a customer on board at this scale. And so we take the mainly wood waste, we run it through a very high temperature carbonization process. We end up with biochar and producer gas. The producer gas then we can run through a set of condensers and make liquids. And so we have a choice with a valve. We can divert it to make just solids and gases or solids, liquids, and gases. The liquids still have a lot of development work. There's a lot of value there, but it takes a long time to sort out that chemistry. Currently, we're shipping basically a truckload every week from our Carrot River facility into the horticulture industry. On top of that, we then get carbon offset reduction credits. They're called CORCs. This is the voluntary market that we're involved in, and it's quite beneficial because the folks involved in there are willing to prepay and allow us to use that capital to develop the process further. That's, I guess, the big picture on BC Biocarbon, and obviously very happy to take questions about our journey. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Mark, over to you. And do you want to pass this down? We do have one of those.
Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Great. So my name is Mark Mazzotti, and I'm CEO and co-founder of AlterBiota. And we're on a mission to unlock 1,000-year permanence for biochar at scale with our concrete admixture that we call Delta C. So to put it very simply, we basically pick up where Phil leaves off, and we take biochar, which is a familiar pathway for removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and we make it into a liquid format that's easy to use for concrete producers to put into concrete. So our Delta C admixture enhances the strength of concrete, and it also, well, while it's storing atmospheric CO2 into that concrete, and it is easy to use. It's in a familiar liquid format, which concrete producers are accustomed to. There's no green premium associated with it, and because it enhances the strength of the concrete, you can actually use less cement in the concrete products that you make with our material. So there's a few effects that our product has on the decarbonization of concrete. So we also have a partnership with a sawmill and a circular manufacturing plan, which includes producing a renewable hydrogen byproduct that they can use for decarbonizing their forestry operations. And we also have plans to capture the CO2 from our process and offer it to the market as a source of atmospheric carbon dioxide, whether that's for putting into concrete like Carbicrete or CarbonCure, who are some famous examples in Canada do, or for others who are looking for just atmospheric sources of CO2. So we've been at it for about 4 years. We're based in Cape Breton, which is an amazing place to grow a business, FYI. And we're primed to scale. We've got an incredible pilot plant that we've developed that's operating in a big industrial space out there in Cape Breton, which allows us to seed the market. We've got a large group of early adopters in the concrete industry that we're going to be trialing our products with in 2025. And again, we have a sawmill partnership, which allows us to have land beside them and in close access to fiber, and also facilitates their offtake of future offtake of hydrogen. And again, all the other things that go along with being a startup, like having an IP portfolio and a deep R&D strength, et cetera. So really happy to be here and to talk to you all. And you know, if it wasn't for the bioeconomy ecosystem out in Nova Scotia, which includes folks like Rod Badcock, who I think everybody in the room knows, and the Verschuren Center, you know, Beth Mason and Annette Verschuren herself, and many others, we wouldn't be able to have gotten to where we are. But yeah, we're testament to what's possible out there. Thanks.
All right. Why can't I? There we go. All right. Mark already answered one of my questions, but Phil didn't. So maybe I'll ask you, Phil, like in your journey over the last, I think it's 20 years, right?
It's a long time.
It's a long time. What elements of the ecosystem have you found particularly helpful?
Yeah, so when we started out, I think there were two groups in the early days that really helped us. So one was IRAP, actually. So IRAP, they don't provide like massive amounts of money, but they really help the guys who are starting out on the first day, and they do something a bit different that most of the other funders don't. They, you know, they come to your site and they kick the tires. So they come there and look, oh, this is never going to work, or maybe it is. So they were very helpful, and we did a couple of early day programs with them. And the other one is we were one of the earliest people who joined Foresight. Again, they came by on a tour and convinced me we should join. It was very beneficial. What they did mainly for us, because we're quite remote, so we never ended up really at a lot of the events that they sponsored in Vancouver. But what they did provide was really good mentors. And those guys provided excellent advice, men and women who, you know, we had 3 or 4 over the time I was in Foresight, and they brought really good connections, really good advice, and helped with things like getting marketing programs off the ground and doing those studies. So that was extremely beneficial, and we appreciate that. Now that we've commercialized, some of the bigger government organizations have stepped in, IFIT and the EIP program, and also supported us. So appreciate that very much from those groups and agencies.
It's nice to get a shout out for the government folks who have helped us. I do know that many people in the U.S. are very envious of the support we get on the development phase. So thanks for mentioning that. All right, I'm going to ask for some of the battle scar questions. So if you think about your journey, what has been some of the largest challenges that you've faced over the last number of years? You could throw out a few, and maybe I'll start with Mark. You've had less time, but I bet you've had just as many problems.
Well, yeah, and I apologize, everybody. I'm like a handsy talker, so maybe I'm moving the mic around and you can't hear me all the time. But has something to do with my last name, Greg?
Just make sure it's up. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Battle scars. Well, I mean, I think everybody has some battle scars from their human resources. I mean, they are the lifeblood of an organization, but you know, if you have a hard time finding them, or you know, have the wrong fit, that can leave you with scars, no doubt.
Do you want to elaborate a bit on that? Like, we heard somebody, I think it was the Trois-Rivières folks, talked a lot about training.
HQPs, yeah.
Yeah, would you say it's more on the technical side or more from the finance, or when you talk about some of the human resource challenges, maybe just for
Yeah.
your colleagues out there who are going through some of the same things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we mostly have technical people on our staff, but it's, sometimes it's hard to, somebody might interview well, but they don't really fit into the organization. It could be chemistry, it could be, skills and talent, mismatch or whatever, but it's hard because when you're in a startup mode, you're excited about everything, and sometimes you move too quickly on hiring somebody or what have you, but these things happen. But one of the things that's been really beneficial for us in the ecosystem that we're in out in Cape Breton, and with the partnership with the Verschuren Center, is that they help fill some of those gaps, and they provide highly qualified personnel to train our personnel and help them get over some of the hurdles that they might face, but not in a way where it's like, you go to a university lab and you maybe can look over their shoulder while they run some tests. The Verschuren Center has done a great job of creating an environment where those people train you on how to use the equipment to equip you for when you move on to the next thing. And so now, we're a few years on, and those people who have fit into the organization well, they've been able to really advance themselves in terms of their skills and capabilities. And so anyway, but they've helped to reduce or minimize the amount of scar tissue that I've developed over the years by having a partner like that. So that's just one example. We could go on and on. But.
Okay, well, I'll come back to a few more around that. But Phil, talk about, your journey.
Yeah, so the battle scars, I think, are mainly about, on our side was a lot of technical stuff. So going down this road, I think we can safely say that we failed at everything every time, bar none. And then we spent the next weeks and months fixing that, and then we went and did it all over again. So every time we made a modification to the equipment, yeah, we got it wrong. And I think that, again, is the biggest part of, these kind of journeys, is that you just have to keep going and go back to the drawing board, see where you made the mistake, come back and do it again. And it takes, I'm going to say that, there needs to be patience amongst the people working with you, and you have to, we were lucky in a lot of ways because, if you spend too much money doing that, you're not going to be here. You're not going to get to that stage. So what you have to do is you have to have and we were lucky, or that we had the resources of another, in this case, another farm company that had facilities where we could do testing cheaply. And I think that's caused a lot of problems for others where they had to go to a testing lab where we did everything in-house. Every single development was done, in-house, and even a lot of the testing. So, we went out and bought the equipment to do, proximate and ultimate analysis on our own stuff, and then we send it to third parties. But physically getting the equipment built, was a struggle, and the equipment we built, because we built it in-house, is a little bit unique, I think. We have this descending bed carbonizer that no one else seems to be using, but it is our own internal IP, and right now that's driving a lot of benefits for us because we don't rely on anybody to deliver, our technology. So we get it built, delivered, constructed, and we own and operate our facilities. So that's been a benefit.
So you believe in the fail fast model?
Fail
which
fast.
We probably don't do enough of in Canada, in my opinion.
Well, if I can add to that just a little bit, one of the things that we were lucky enough to do with support from the folks at ACOA, which is another group I have to call out, the Atlantic Canada Opportunity Agency, was to build a commercial scale pilot plant very early, right? Normally you build that with your like seed round money, but we built it with our pre-seed money, right? Because of these programs that existed. And that was really great because that pilot plant that we built doesn't look a thing today like it did when we first built it. We had that time to, do brain damage. essentially, and like figure out all the bottlenecks and the problems with it. And you know, unlike you guys, we use Zeton, which is a great pilot plant engineering company, to take our concepts and bring them to life. But yeah, our pilot plant doesn't look a thing today like it did 3 years ago when we built it. And you know, but we're that far ahead of the game, because if we would have had to build that with our seed round money, we'd only be going through that brain damage right now to learn what the challenges are in scaling up a rather complicated process. You know, taking a biochar material and turning it into a stable liquid admixture for the concrete industry. So.
Yeah, and I can second that we used all that time to get these samples out. They weren't perfect the first time, but we were able to get them out to our potential customers, you know, as early as possible. And it took a lot of years. So, you know, customer acquisition on the contract we have now was over 4 years of samples back and forth, back and forth. Oh, we don't like this, we do like that. And we have a, you know, it's very good now because we have a, you know, a very large contract.
Talk a little bit about that, a little more, just around, you know, technology development takes a ton of resources. Understanding your customer takes a ton of resources. Marrying the right product to the right customer takes a ton of resources. Talk a little more, Phil, and then we'll get Mark's perspective on how did you balance? That's a kind of natural tension within a technology development company.
Yeah, I guess it was a little bit organic, because what we did is started, you know, as soon as we could produce something from one of our batch processes, we were sending it out to, you know, people who might be interested or people we thought might be interested, and we made a lot of phone calls. And then we got feedback, and there was a, you know, there was a bunch of, I guess when you talk about this, there was a bunch of pivots in our life, because we started out, when we did the market study, there was no biochar market. That it was there, it existed, but we couldn't see a way to make that profitable. And then, so we started out trying to basically do biocoal, and we have a patent in the biocoal industry, and we, you know, are in the you know, in that space. You know, that may get, we're working with other companies on that now, but we started out in the biocoal space. And then while we were doing that, and we had to build biochar first, then this market started to appear. So we kind of kicked the biocoal idea over the edge, because it's very, very large, and we didn't have the capacity, and we just pivoted into biochar. And so that market developed by sending these samples out to a lot of people involved in the agriculture and filtration industries. So, and that's really where our product is going today. It goes into horticulture, and it goes into filtration in a big way. And so it went back and forth, back and forth. They would say, no, this didn't work. And so we would change our parameters, and then that would cause us to, you know, change something in our equipment. And eventually, we found something that replaces, and this is public knowledge, so you can say anything, but it replaces perlite and vermiculite in those soils that you find in both industrial and retail garden products. So once we were able to make a specific product for that, these guys became very, very interested, and now we have a large market at that scale.
And Mark, just around the pivoting, did you know when you started you wanted to target cement?
Yeah, but it took a long time to come to that. I looked at all the things, you know, that Phil just mentioned, and I came to the determination that I should just return to my roots, because I come from a construction family, and it was a great opportunity for me to sort of bring my passion for waste valorization and clean technology to something that I actually spent my childhood doing, you know, building infrastructure, pouring concrete. And we made the decision to really zero in on concrete only. I mean, technically our product is a biographene admixture. I mean, it contains biographene that we, you know, exfoliate from high-grade graphitic biochar materials. And if you look at others in the graphene landscape, they usually try to make a pristine graphene product that can be sold by, as a reagent or something, and then they work with third parties to figure out applications. But we said, well, we're going to make a biographene product that is designed for concrete. And we're only going to focus on concrete, and we're going to become subject matter experts. And so, if you come to visit our facility in Cape Breton, which I encourage you all to do, we have probably, I'll say it, the most sophisticated concrete materials testing lab on Cape Breton Island, and possibly in all of Nova Scotia. And that's because we're laser focused on concrete. And any digression that we do or diversion that we do from concrete or from our admixture is other stuff related to getting our product into the concrete market, digital tools and stuff like this. And so as a result, we're always talking to the concrete customers, and concrete is everywhere. It's the most consumed material on the planet after water. And basically every island, any space you go to, there's a small ready-mix plant for concrete. And so it was easy for us, especially in a friendly place like Cape Breton, to get cozy and close with some sandbox partners and, have the voice of the customer resonating daily in our minds. And so, that's how we've done it. And now we're a concrete technologies company, really, at the end of it. At this point.
Very customer focused. We only have about 4 minutes left. We lost our people walking around taking cards. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Oh, thank you. Maybe. Okay, but if you do have any questions, just put up your card. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't tackle financing in here. I know you mentioned some government funding that non-dilutive that have been helpful. Maybe talk a little bit more about some of the financing hurdles in the past and what you see going forward. We'd like to see these guys here in 10 years being $100 million companies. What's it going to take?
Yeah, so we were funded from the early days of just friends and family. So it was basically, that's how it went for most of that time. And then as we kind of got into, I guess, the late 20-teens and stuff, there was some people started to notice, and we have a part of the Carrot River thing is a joint venture where some of our partners then started to put in some more significant dollars. Then just very lately in the last year, we decided we'd do the first, seed round. A very large Fortune 500 company out of the U.S. Came to us, and so we decided we'd go ahead, and they brought in some significant capital, and we're going to finish that round right now. And again, we're getting significant interest. I think it's just in our space, so we're just completing that. So. We've been lucky, I'm going to say, in as far as it comes to financing. We have no debt, and the people who are backing us are, I think, well-heeled.
I think there's an expression, you make your own luck. Mark.
He's done such incredible work. You're closing a seed round, and you have 2 operating facilities. That's incredible.
An A round.
Or an A round. Okay, still having 2 operating facilities at an A round. That's really incredible. Financing. We were, unfortunate in some ways to raise our seed round over the course of 2023, which was probably the hardest year in the last decade to do it. But luckily, we were able to combine a handful of small strategics and high net worth individuals with a lead that was Invest Nova Scotia, formerly Innovacorp, which is a provincial venture capital fund out of Nova Scotia. And then the BDC Climate Fund came in, Susan Rohack and her team, alongside Invest Nova Scotia. And so we had provincial venture capital, federal venture capital, and a mix of some small privates and strategics to come in. And, it's a real testament to the Canadian venture capital market and startup community that, when times are tough, and other investors aren't writing checks, they're there for you. But also, just to comment on that, the valuations typically, even in the best of times in Canada, are lower than in the US, but you make up for it with your enterprise value after you bring in all this non-dilutive, right? And there's a lot of non-dilutive in Canada, whether it's SDTC or a COA or otherwise, you know, it really adds up. So don't be afraid of grants. Anyway.
I can see we're pretty much at time, but I'd love you to give sort of your parting thought to the audience, wise words of wisdom, or a request for something you'd like to see happen in Canada. So Phil, over to you.
Yeah, if you're trying to get into one of these businesses, my recommendation is you got to be patient and you just got to stick to it, you know, day after day, because it's not going to be an easy journey, no matter what, and be very careful. Be very careful on how much money you bring in the beginning, or of other people's money, I guess, because you know. You won't be successful on day one, and you don't want them to take you down. So you're going to have to be very patient and work a lot of hours. That'd be my recommendation.
Mark?
I mean, it's finding the balance of listening to people around you, surrounding yourself with, you know, smart, wise, kind people, but also not losing your vision or getting, you know, having them steer you too far from your vision and your gut. It's complicated, but yeah, that's what I would say is, you know, stick to your vision, but don't be afraid to listen to people and have them sort of give you hard feedback. I feel very spoiled with all the great mentors that I've had over the years, so I wouldn't be here without them.
Thank you very much. I hope you all enjoyed that. It's wonderful to listen to some successful journeys, and I can't wait to see what these two individuals and companies have in store in the coming years. Thank you very much, Jeff.